water into wine at Cana of Galilee. Well, first question is, where's Cana? To tell you the truth, we really aren't sure. In the Bible, Cana is mentioned only in the Gospel of John. It tells us that Cana was in Galilee. We think it was near Nazareth, where Jesus grew up. But to be honest, we really don't know where Cana was. That's kind of surprising. John tells us that this miracle in Cana was the first of Jesus' miracles. His first sign, his great first big deal. It gave the world its first glimpse of Jesus' glory. It kicked off his ministry. You'd think that Christians would exhaust every effort to find out where Cana was. That was the habit back then. I remember my tour guide in the Holy Land told me. When something happened special at a spot, the first thing they did was build an altar there. And then a church on top of the altar, a basilica, a something, to mark that spot. But no such spot is there for Cana in Galilee. Nobody knows for sure. And that's the point, in a way. Jesus could have chosen to start his ministry any place. In the great city of Jerusalem or in Rome. But he chose to start in a small town in the middle of nowhere that we don't even know where it was anymore. As Jesus goes through his short life, we see him favoring ordinary people in ordinary places, healing beggars along the way, and children, and people who didn't count for much. Jesus ignored people who could have helped him. Religious leaders, people with political clout, wealthy people. Even worse, he embarrassed them, infuriated them, made them his enemies. Jesus wasn't just being foolish. He came to help people. And it was the down and outers who understood that they needed his help. The rich and famous didn't care much for Jesus. They couldn't admit that they needed help. After all, Jesus was a country boy from Nazareth. A country boy who failed to pay religious leaders the proper respect. A country boy who didn't know his place. We need to remember Jesus' affinity for the poor and the vulnerable. We live in a success-driven culture that celebrates money and achievement. We're tempted to look down our noses at people who are not doing well in life. But we need to remember that people like that are Jesus' best friends. So it's significant that Jesus chose a nowhere place like Cana to start his ministry. Ministry among ordinary people in an ordinary place. Jesus' first ministry is also interesting. Jesus works many other miracles in the Gospels. Most are healings. In one case, he brings a man back from the dead. And those gladden our hearts, because we know what it's like to be sick. We know what it's like to grieve over the death of a loved one. When Jesus heals someone, it gives us hope. Perhaps when we need him, Jesus will heal us too. But Jesus' first miracle wasn't healing a sick person or reviving a dead person. Jesus' first miracle was transforming water into wine. A nice gesture. It saved the wedding party. But it sounds like miracle light compared to Jesus' other miracles. So why did Jesus, for his first miracle, turn water into wine? Well, as I read through some commentaries, especially some from some fundamentalist scholars, or from some Baptist or pastors, they said, well, it wasn't really wine. It was unfermented grape juice, and the process for that really wasn't developed until Mr. Welsh did it in the 1800s. That could be one reason, I guess. I tend to believe it was wine. Maybe it was because his mother pressured him. Perhaps he was just kind of warming up. Well, let's try this little trick and see if that goes okay, and then I'll move on to other more important kinds of things if this works out okay. Maybe it was just being careful. Or maybe it was something more significant. In the Gospel of John, Jesus often says and does things that have two meanings. An obvious but superficial meaning, and a hidden, significant meaning. That's true when he tells Nicodemus about new birth in chapter 3. It's true when he tells the Samaritan woman about living water in chapter 4. And it's true when he turns water into wine in this, the second chapter. In some places, Jesus explains his intended meaning, but not here. Not in Cana. We're left to guess. There's a couple of possibilities, ruling out the one that it really wasn't wine. One is that the abundance of wine that Jesus creates is a symbol of the abundant grace that he brings. Jesus created enough wine for 12 parties, just as he brings enough grace to save the worst of the worst. Another possibility is found in the wine. Stewart's comment that the bridegroom has kept the best wine until last. The Jewish people had the law and the prophets, but God saved the best wine, Jesus, until the last. In other words, when Jesus turned the water into wine, he was sending a message, a subtle message. A message that most people would miss, but but some would understand. Then at the end of the story, John says, Jesus did this, the first of his signs, in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed him. That's the bottom line. This sign, this miracle, this transformation of water into wine, revealed Jesus' glory. And his disciples believed in him. Jesus had just begun his ministry and called his disciples. They had followed Jesus because there was something compelling about him. But the jury was still out. The disciples still weren't sure. Maybe Jesus was sent from God, maybe not. But after Cana, after Jesus' miracle, there was no question in their minds. Jesus transformed water into wine, fine wine, abundant wine, and in so doing revealed his glory. Gave the disciples a glimpse into his identity, letting them see something of his power. And they believed in him. I wish I could have been there. I wish that I could have seen the miracle, could have tasted some of that good wine. I wish I had been there just to see Jesus at work, to see him do his thing, to see the worry on the faces of the hosts who had run out of wine, and to see that worry replaced by total amazement, and amazement replaced by joy. I wish I could have been there to see Jesus' glory, because that would have confirmed my belief in him. Sometimes I need a faith boost. Sometimes I need that. And this would have certainly given me a faith boost. But if I'm honest, I have seen Jesus at work. I have seen Jesus do even more wonderful things than turning water into wine. I've seen Jesus at work in the lives of loved ones and relatives. And when I look out at this congregation, I can see Jesus has been at work in your lives too. I see faces that reveal God's glory. Every week I see people in this congregation doing kind and generous things. And you do them because Jesus has made a difference in your life. You have rough edges too. And some people criticize you because you're not 100% saintly all the time. When they do, answer them this way. Just tell them that if it had not been for Jesus, well, you hate to think of what you would have been without Jesus. In your life, Jesus has turned water into wine. And Jesus is still doing it. Winemaking is a slow process, you know. You plant the vines, then you wait. And it looks like nothing's happening at all. Nothing at all. But it is. First the vines grow, then the grapes begin to appear. If you stand in the middle of a vineyard, you can't hear the grapes growing. You can't see them grow, but they are growing. If you come back tomorrow, they'll look the same. And the next day, and the next day. But if you come back a month from now, you'll see the difference. God is turning water into wine. And so it is with us. As we walk with Christ day by day, we become more and more like Him. For some people, that growth comes quickly. They experience a dramatic conversion. Bless them. Yesterday they had no faith, and today they're full of faith. But for most of us, spiritual growth is slow, nearly invisible. But Christ is working in our lives day by day, turning water into wine. And when that happens, we reveal His glory. Our lives give other people a glimpse of Jesus. And as we look around this congregation, we see other people whose lives reveal the glory of Jesus. Their witness strengthens our faith. We are strengthened by them, and they are strengthened by us, and together we reveal Jesus' glory. As we see His glory, we come to believe in Him just as the first disciples did. And as we reveal His glory, we help others to believe in Him. Later in the Gospel of John, he will tell us exactly how to go about revealing His glory. He will tell us of a new commandment, His great commandment. If we really want to honor Jesus, this is the way to do it. Jesus says, I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples. If we really want to honor Jesus, that's how we can do it. By loving one another. When we do that, people will look at us and see Jesus and believe and give Him glory. Amen. The peace of God which surpasses all human understanding, keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge and love of Christ Jesus our Lord.